How you doing, guys? Finally online. I gotta say, screw my crappy internet. We'll wait a little bit for some people to come online. I hear you all. You're all coming along. How you doing, guys? I see Skadoosh, I see Kyle, I see Quad Guy 27, TNTFPV, Punk Out Z, Dennis. Wow, you're really you're really getting in there. How you doing, guys? I'm going to see if I can actually look myself up online so I can watch my own live feed. See if the internet will let me. By the way, how's the internet going, guys? I hope it's not too crappy. How you doing, guys? Well, we're actually got good internet for a change. This is like the first time ever, so we're not going to complain about that. What are we talking about tonight? What do you think I'm talking about tonight? I can finally talk about stuff. Here we go, look. There we go, look, I'm actually live and it doesn't look like it's hurt the internet too much. Look, I'm even going to try typing into there. Okay, I think there's enough of you guys in here. Mr. Lazy Hog said, when is your frame coming out? That's actually a really good question to answer, so I'll answer that. My new frame is coming out now. That's right, my frame is available now. Fuck pre-orders, fuck all that shit. If you guys go over to the ImpulseRC website now, you will see that it is available now, and shipping is hoping to start happening next week. So it's a Friday here, and the shipping is going to just getting things sorted, and they're hoping to ship things out there. But if you guys don't go too far, hang around here and chat with me. But the orders are being taken now, and they're not pre-orders because I'm not a real fan of the pre-order stuff, so we wanted to get stuff together. This is why we've kept quiet, and this is why we haven't jumped the gun. So things are like we've got things ready now, and the order itself, the number of frames that we've got in this first batch is, from what I'm told, the biggest first batch order of frames that ImpulseRC has ever done with any of its product, and sounds like it's bigger than all of the other first product batches all combined. So I wouldn't worry about running out within the first hour or lots of stuff. So I want to have a quick talk about this frame, since I can finally show it to you guys, since I can finally do more than just this. What I'm going to do is I'm just basically going to talk about some of its basic features, and then we're going to talk about customization and future products, future products that are coming out for it. We'll talk about price and all that sort of stuff, and then afterwards I'm going to get down into the technical stuff and talk about why I designed the things that I designed and why we went the way that we went, so that we can explain it for you. So let's just put it up on the screen for you guys to have a look at. So I will just spin it slowly, and I won't talk too much, so you guys can have a decent old look at the frame. and we'll spin it this way. Okay, so essentially main features of this frame is the most obvious part is the two-piece bottom plate, and there's a number of reasons why we went that way. First of all, it allows you to use two different thicknesses of carbon front and back depending on what you're trying to achieve. So the front takes a lot of hit and a lot of load, so you really want to beef that up, where the back not so much, so you can make that a lot lighter. On top of that, when it's out of two pieces, it's not one long rectangular piece, so that when you do cut it out of the carbon fiber, its footprint within the carbon fiber sheet that it's CNC'd out of is now a lot smaller, which means that you've got more options available for you and losing less carbon. So if you look at the weave of the carbon, you'll see the weave of the carbon. Let's see how we actually goes in line with the arms. The reason why we've done that is now this center part is extremely stiff. So the Alien has always been known as being a very, very stiff platform. This is stiffer again. And the center plate part of this, where the arms are sandwiched in, these two plates here then become the spar caps, and the arms themselves start becoming core material. So the way that the arms interact with bending loads and so forth change when they go in between these plates. So what we've done first of all is, let's get an old arm here. We've actually got lightning holes on the inside of the arm, and these arms go inside here where you don't need the bending strength. This becomes shear material, so you can actually lose some weight here. Now you might not think that those holes are going to change much in the way of weight, but each one of those holes is a difference between using an alloy screw and a steel screw. So all you guys like to lose a lot of weight, so there's a decent amount of weight lost there when you get all four of those together. Plus, I mean, if the weight doesn't need to be there, then it doesn't need to be there. There's a point in time where carbon just becomes a dead weight in certain areas. So if you don't need it there, don't put it in there. So essentially what we've done there is we've made this a lot stiffer for using less material, or just using the material that we have in a smarter way. And also what we've done is we've removed the Alien, of course, had a 3-bolt hole pattern. This has gone to a 2-bolt hole pattern. Of course, the one fixed bolt hole pattern that is the same is the 30 by 30 bolt hole pattern for the flight controllers. So what we did was we moved the secondary bolt. I've said right from the beginning, I don't think these middle ones really are needed on this design, and this is why we've redesigned things like PDBs and so forth. I didn't think that was needed, so what we've done is we've only used the outside one, and the outside bolt has been moved further out. What it's done when it's been moving further out is very similar to the Helix design in that regard. When we've moved that further out, it's meant that the distance between the motor and the inside bolt, the moment arm there, has actually been shortened. So what we can do is we can use less material here for the same kind of strength and bending moment, which means you end up with a lighter frame. Someone asked what the weight was. So I'll get to that in a second, but let's just say that from what I've weighed, this one with the alloy package on it is, and this is an option that's coming out soon, is the lightest freestyle style frame, like this sort of long body frame that I've ever come across. How much does it cost? It costs $82 for the basic frame, and if you want to add the PDB, which is an optional extra, you'll add another $8 on there, so $90 in total. So if you guys want a cheap frame, there is a cheap frame. Now, how did we get the price of this down to a reasonable area? It's pretty simple. First of all, what we did was we limited the amount of components in there. and particularly hardware, because hardware can be some of the most expensive parts. So if you limit the amount of hardware going into it and the amount of hardware that you actually need, then you simply drop the amount of costs there. I did quite a lot of the R&D and so forth, so managed to bring the cost down for ImpulseRC, how much it cost them to do the research and development on this. So their costs were a lot lower. It just meant that I was working for nothing, but if it means that it brings out a cheaper frame for you guys, that you guys win in the end, then I'm happy about that. In terms of bringing the cost down, you can also bring the cost down by increasing capacity. So it's a numbers game. If you're ordering more of the same stuff, then you're bringing the cost down. It means that you need to put more money down as a company, but in the long term, it saves. And I guess the main reason why we do it is because it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. You guys or the customers are the ones that actually dictate the price and what you're wanting to pay. So manufacturers need to listen. But they can only listen within reason. They can only go down so much. But what we've done is sort of change the way that we have done things to allow the price to come down, both in just physically changing the cost of the number of items and making things cheaper and simpler in the way that we do it. And I hope you guys appreciate what we're doing there. What it then means is people like myself, like I'm not getting as much money per frame as what I normally would. Did Mr. Steele have any input on this? No, Mr. Steele had no input in this. It means that, so just to be out there and totally clear, I will be making money on this frame. Every frame and part for this frame that's sold, I will be making a small amount on, but I'm making that very clear. That's no secret out there. So by simply reducing the amount of profit that Impulse makes and I make, allows us to also bring the price of it down. It then means you've got to sell more, of course, but it's that whole balancing act as to what you go out there. So I really hope that the price itself was exactly what you guys were looking for. I went to Sean at ImpulseRC probably about 8 months ago, and I said, we really need to look at, I want to design a new frame, and the design philosophy for me was lighter, stronger, stiffer, cheaper. That's what I wanted to that's what I wanted to achieve, and I think we've pretty much ticked the box in every situation. So I'll talk a little bit more about the basic design parameters of the frame, and then I'll get in talking about how we designed it in a bit more technical basis. So yeah, we've got the bottom plate, which is a split bottom plate, which I've already described. One of the main reasons why we wanted to go to that way. We started off with arms that were actually quite thin, and slowly engineered the thickness of the arms up until we got a nice balance of stiffness, weight, durability, and so forth. Because as you know, you can't have it all, and so we're up to that point in time there. And there's also the arms themselves also have this double taper feature as well, to give a bit more material around here, because the common places for arms to break are here and here, where you've got basically the weak point of the holes going through there. And so we wanted to beef these areas up so that we can minimize the breaking there. You're never going to stop it. If you stop it, then the weight, if you beef these up so these never break, it weighs so much that no one will ever want to fly it. So it's a nice balance on sort of stuff. As far as the front is going in there, and I'm reading all your comments, but I'll be answering them one at a time, guys. So the mount that's in the front here is very similar to the ImpulseRC style K brackets that you'll all be familiar with. But what we've done is we've simplified it. So first of all, we've removed that back plate and all those plastic brackets and the million bolts and so forth and the O-rings and so forth. And none of that is required. So this is really a plug-and-play system. This will fit, as far as I'm aware, please don't quote me on this, as far as I am aware, every single standard size FPV camera out on the market today. So Runcam, Foxeer, all those guys there, it'll fit all of them. So it'll fit your like your Monster or your Eagle or your Sparrow or anything like that. Any of those cameras that have the 3 bolt holes going on the side from top to bottom. And all you do is you mount it with a 2mm bolt hole there. Sorry, I think it's too small and 2mm. And then you've got your little part there where you've got your angle adjustment there. Now what you can also use is, for example, the Swift and the pardon me, the Eagle also have that optional back plate with those bolt holes there. So that's when you're using this back plate here. So it doesn't matter what type of camera you're using, they will all fit. Including the original HS1177. The only thing that won't do now is you can't lock it into position because, of course, the HS1177 doesn't have a second bolt hole for locking, but it will go in there. There are some, for example, some of the older Runcam cameras, they have like a little nipple on the side of the cameras, which is wider than everything else, like going out about 2 or 3 mil or something like that. Plastic little 2mm sort of rotating nipple on there, which you just lop off with a knife and it fits in there. The newer Runcam cameras have gone back to the original size of everyone else, so it's only a problem if you have the newer Runcam. But I did a quick build video for ImpulseRC, and on that video it shows how to do that. It's a simple 2-second lop it off and it fits in there absolutely perfect. So what are we going to talk about now? We're going to talk about the height here. So this is a 30mm standoff height, and the 30mm standoff height, which by the way is coming from the bottom of it. So if you're one of those people that thinks that standoff height is like make or break between different cameras, this is closer to 24mm from where the motors mount. So a lot of people go, oh, it's just a standoff height, doesn't matter. No, standoff height doesn't make any difference because it's where it comes off from where the motor is and how tall the motor is. There's so many different things are involved in that. So if you're one of those people that's all about standoff height and it makes a massive difference in the way that the quad flies, then this is approximately 24mm height. As we go to the back here, you'll see that the front standoffs and the back standoffs are actually 2 different heights. That's because this the back bottom plate, the upper plate of the bottom plate, is a little bit higher. And so that basically just compresses area in there so you don't have all this wasted space. But I just like it because it looks kind of cool as it goes through, and it's a nice little addition. The one thing that is very different, which we've been working on for quite a while, and motor to motor distance. Okay, I'll get onto that since someone asked that question. The motor to motor distance of this is 225mm. So it's the same as the Alien, but the geometry is different, and I'll talk about the geometry in time. So this right here at the back here is where we mount the VTX camera and the antennas for your radio and so forth. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to make a really quick and easy mounting system for both your VTX antenna and your radio antennas, so that there was no dodging required. Because there's always this stupid dodging of things and zip ties and heat shrink, and it works, but it's annoying and it still cuts things. So where is one? Here's an old one. It's one of my few Aliens I've still got. So this is the way that I used to do it. So I used to get a zip tie and heat shrink it to the standoff, bend it, and then heat shrink the antenna inside here. And what I found was antenna position too close to the 5.8 VTX is actually really bad, because the the VTX antenna actually starts affecting the range of the receiving antennas on the 2.4. Yeah, they're two completely different frequencies, but if you're pumping out 600 milliwatts, it doesn't matter that it's on a different frequency, it'll start cancelling things out. And I did a number of tests. I remember I did the initial tests over, I did some initial tests in Chernobyl back in those days, where I had the VTX antenna and the radio antennas actually really close to one another, and there was and I moved the antennas further away and did this same track, and I noticed an RSSI change of about 5 to 10 points just simply by moving the antennas away. So that's why I started moving my antennas forward away from the very back positions and have my VTX antenna at the back. So if you're wondering why all my antennas are actually mounted from that standoff and not the very back standoff, that's why. So I did that with the zip ties. But the problem is the zip ties, they bend and they get caught in the prop line, and then you end up getting antennas cut every once in a while. So while we were designing the by the way, it's called the Reverb. I don't think I actually said the name. The name of it is the ImpulseRC Reverb. It was a name that we came up with while we were doing things, and it kind of stuck, and it worked really well. So getting back to these, so I had the antennas mounted further up there, but I wanted to have like a simple way of mounting these antennas. And what I started off with the VTX antenna and came up with plenty of ideas with Sean, and we were looking at 3D printed ones, we were looking at molded ones, we were looking at CNC things, and it just got all too complicated, too expensive, too heavy. And then I realized the way that we're already mounting these antennas using two zip ties like I was doing in the Alien and so forth, it can't be beat. It's solid as a rock. It never breaks for me. It's extremely light and it's extremely simple, and it doesn't protrude and it doesn't look terrible. So if we look on the top here, you will see that there is a mounting area here and here for your antenna to go underneath, and then zip ties to go through it. And then if we have a look, you'll see that there is an area there for the antenna to mount up. So the problem with mounting your antenna so that the SMA sticks out the back here, I'm not a big fan of that, because whenever this reverses into something, you end up breaking the SMA or breaking the connection of the SMA on the antenna quite often. So I want the connection inside here, and then when it does actually hit that area there, the antenna actually bends up inside this little U section in here and doesn't actually get hit and doesn't get squashed. So your antenna actually doesn't actually get hurt. And I don't break antennas basically ever these days. It's actually a really, really simple and an articulate way of doing it. So zip ties for the VTX antenna mount. As far as I'm concerned, if it ain't broke, don't fix it unless you can find a better way. And I don't believe that there is a better way than doing that personally. The antennas for the receiver, on the other hand, I really wanted to do something about that. I didn't want to make you guys. I didn't really want to make you guys have to go out there and do heat shrink and zip ties. It's just it's really amateurish, and there's no need. So I sat down, and over the course of about a week or two, I was talking to Sean, and we came up with various ideas, and Sean came up with this original, like the latest design, which is extremely simple. And if we have a close look in here, let's see if we can get it in here. You can see, so we have standoff up to here to about here, and this is a plastic part which fills up the rest of it, and then there's a tube that goes through 45 degrees through there and then is locked in place by a bolt going straight through there. Now there is also some material on the side here to stop it from twisting, and it just locks everything into place. Now the really cool thing about this is that the bolt and the antenna are basically an interference fit. So I can slide that antenna through when there's no bolt through there to get it into position, and as soon as I tighten up that bolt and it goes past this tube, now this tube is in here solid. It doesn't move, so it's solid as a rock. It's not going to come out. So in a crash situation, or if it gets hooked on something as you're flying past it, it's not going to affect anything. So really cool and really simple. And so I wanted to make sure that there was a very simple idea for you guys to be able to install your antennas without any fucking around, without any sort of amateurish hacking and lots of stuff. Do you have to top mount the LiPo? No, you don't have to top mount the LiPo, but I prefer to top mount the LiPo because I prefer the way that quads fly with a top mounted LiPo. And I'll go through that when I start talking about the design philosophy in why this is shaped the way that it is and designed the way that it is. So on top of that, we also have some custom soft mount standoffs there, because soft mount, I couldn't even say that. Soft mount standoffs are pretty much becoming the standard thing, so this is available in this kit. And as right now, this frame is just coming, the standard kit is coming with a nice steel hardware. There will be very soon an alloy package as well, which is an upgrade, but the steel hardware put in there is nice and cheap, but also very light. Sorry, back again, we just lost it a little bit then. So yeah, the standard kit that's available for now has the steel hardware. This frame here, as is, like this, is with the steel hardware, is 122 grams ready to go. In comparison, and I don't like mentioning weights because the problem when you mention weights is everyone includes or doesn't include things. So what I've been doing is I've been measuring. I've got all these different types of frames that I can compare. So if we want to compare, the Alien in this form was 130 grams. The Stingy frame and the Chameleon with the thicker bottom plate, the newer bottom plate, is 125 grams in this scenario. This with steel hardware, the standard hardware, is 122 grams, and with the alloy upgrade package that is coming shortly, this weighs 110 grams according to my scales, so give or take a gram or two, but according to my scales this weighs 110 grams like this, ready to fly. So yeah, pretty light, a good 20 grams lighter than the Alien and 15 grams lighter than comparable frames out there, so pretty good weight as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, so as far as price is concerned, price for this thing is $90 with the PDB, but the PDB is an option. You don't have to get that. So if you don't want the PDB, it comes in at $82. So I'm sure you guys, I hope you guys are pretty happy with that. That's been a hard price to get down for there. So let's talk about optional extras. So optional extras, Kevin, I've already spoken about the camera mount. There's the camera mount there. No back hardware required like the old Alien does, and this will take every standard HS1177 style camera in there without fail. Next one is the actually, let's show you a kit. So when you buy the kit, you'll get this main body kit. You'll get your battery little pad on there, and by the way, the battery pad is a heavy duty dense closed cell foam. I've gone away from the rubber like the Alien had because it didn't really do anything for me, and it just added added extra weight, so I moved away from that. So you get the rubber foam, you get, as usual, you get your little diamond files in there. If you really want to go and dress everything, that's great. That's totally up to you if you want to get that. They're cheap and they're really, really handy. That's why I kept them in there, as well as all the rest of the body stuff. And then we have the hardware package. So this is your stock standard. This is your stock standard hardware package, and of course there will be available very shortly an alloy upgrade as well, and of course that's going to be for an extra cost, but the steel hardware is there and will also allow you to be one of the lightest frames out there, even just with steel. You get your 4 arms, of course, and where is the PDB? What did I do with the PDB? There it is underneath there. And then, of course, there is the PDB as well. So the PDB itself is actually kind of interesting. So this is just the stock standard PDB. I'll talk about the upgrade ones. And so this PDB is very interesting in that it is not actually part of the, it's not structural in any way, but it also doesn't mount to the standoffs, because you know those stack mounts and you want to soft mount things that can be a bit of a problem and so forth. I didn't like the idea of having a structural PDB because it just complicated things. So what we wanted to do was make it, if any of you guys are familiar with the Helix, the Helix has the flight controller and PDB soft mounted, so forth. So what we did was exactly the same thing. The PDB itself just goes on like so, and you'll see that it's not connected structurally or physically to anything. So all you use is some double-sided tape to tape that down, and it's ready to go. The cool thing about that is if you don't want to use the PDB, then you don't use the PDB, and that's why we didn't include that in the kit. And that's because there are some people out there that use those all-in-one boards, or the flight controllers have the PDBs on them and lots of stuff and so forth. The PDB is for anything that you want, because this PDB is just your stock standard PDB. It doesn't have any electronics on it. This PDB is $8, and the difference with this PDB is that it will take power on, so that's top there. It'll take power left or right. It'll give power out to the ESCs, but you can also do your signal ground and telemetry wires on there. And then let me add to this. Anyone who is familiar with like the Steel Beat PDB or the KISS carrier will be very familiar with this. You then connect that onto there and then plug your flight controller in there. So this wire here is designed for the KISS FC, of course, but it also comes with another wire, just a bare wire, so forth. So if you're running a beta flight board or a race flight board or whatever, you can connect through there. So it means that you can connect not only the power of the board, but also the ESC signal and telemetry wires on there. And it means that if you're going to be doing some maintenance to your quad or whatever, is you can now disconnect your board, whether it's KISS or Betaflight. You can actually disconnect it from your quad and move it around. So it means that things are a lot more modular than what they used to be. So it doesn't matter. So all you Betaflight guys, you can have that really cool feature of being able to disconnect that as well. So it means it's not just for power, it's also for pardon me, it's also for signal and signal ground and telemetry and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it works really well. I've been really happy with that. So one other thing that we'll do is we'll stick this in here, and I'll show you why those power wires are at an angle. And get the power wire out. So of course it comes with a pre-cut and tinned power wire, and you can see the XT60, you can see that these are actually cut and tinned at an angle. And the reason being is that, see how we can do here, is you can see that it'll go on like so. and solder to them. And the reason why you go through there is very hard to see, but if you see there is a little bit of a slit there, it means that what I can do now is I can put my power wire out through that, and then I can put a small zip tie around the power wire, and I can use that as strain relief, because the big problem with going straight on pads like that is if you have a crash and your battery gets ejected, worst case scenario, what can happen is either your PDB gets lifted, which shouldn't happen if you stick it down properly, and of course the PDB is supplied with some good quality tape to stick it down. But even if it doesn't get pulled up, what can happen is your pads can get ripped off in a bad crash situation. So we've got these little holes here for a small zip tie to go through there to actually give that strain relief and have the plug going up, so forth like that. And I've tried the plug in various locations, coming out from the front, coming out from the back. Right in the middle here, to me, I find is the simplest and best way to actually to mount that. Where are they? I've got to find them all. Everything is everywhere, and that's good enough. So other options that you've got is for the GoPro mount. So GoPro mount, you got a nice flat surface there. What I wanted to do was, I know how I like to have my GoPro mounted, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best way for everyone. So I wanted to be able to mount the GoPro in my favorite way, but I also wanted you guys to be able to customize it so that you can mount your GoPro how you want to mount it. So, for all you old school guys out there that that like mounting the GoPro like with on a piece of foam, angled foam pad and a Velcro and then a strap around it, what we've done is we've made sure that there is still a hole there so that you guys want to mount over the top, you can still mount that. Because I know, like Charles Levitt, you're an old school guy, you still like to mount yours that way, so you still can do that. And just because I don't mount it like that, it doesn't mean that I should limit you guys from doing that. So that old standard mounting technique is still very possible and very easy to do. What I prefer to do, purely for I don't mind that it adds a little bit of extra weight, but I like the protection and I like the fact that it never gets flung anywhere. I've never lost a GoPro in the grass before, is a 3D GoPro printed mount. So what we did was I looked around, and I've had the best service and the best dealings with Brain 3D. So Brain 3D is a 3D printing service over in America that does a lot of stuff for various companies. So I spoke to Brian at Brain 3D and said, hey, look, I'd love to work with you. And he was like, yeah, I'd love to work with you too. So we started working on some products. So what we've come up with is a number of products. So first of all, you've got the standard mount, which is a 30-degree mount, which goes on with the three bolt holes at the front. If you want a little bit more, we've got the 40-degree mount also. Same thing, but at a 40 degree. For all you guys that prefer to have a couch mount, I don't have it with me, but Brain 3D has also come up with a couch mount design that's stock at the moment is a 30-degree angle, so that way it's a nice lightweight couch mount, and you can still use your strap to go around that. The really cool thing is Brain 3D was kind enough to make the couch mount open source, and that file is available, or will be available, at the ImpulseRC website. So all you homebrew 3D printing guys, that gives you the footprint of this frame design, and allows you to either print out your own couch mount or start with the base on there so that you can get your own design there. But if you're like me, who likes those designs but can't be bothered buying a 3D printer and all that sort of stuff, and just want to buy Brain 3D, it will be and is stocking both the 30, the 40, and the 30-degree couch mount the GoPro mounts, or I guess you could call them GoPro protectors, and you can get them there. And of course, ImpulseRC also has a decent stock of both the 40 and the 30 degree mounts as well that you can get through there. But it just gives you guys a little bit of an option out there. One thing that I didn't actually mention, and I just realized it when I was talking about the mount there, is what we've actually done is we've reduced the number of standoffs and points on there. So if you look through there, you'll actually see that there's a standoff through the middle there. So we've got 2 standoffs in the front like you would normally do, but behind there we didn't see a need to have 2 standoffs there. So we've actually got 1 standoff right in the middle, and you can see that on the bolt hole pattern there. So what that's done is it's reduced the number of parts, which has reduced the number the cost of the frame, but it's also reduced the weight and the complexity as well. And as a side benefit down here, you'll see around here, this is a pretty common place along here for these style of frames to break at the front here. They usually crack through there on a big hit on the bottom there, and then sort of can open there. So what we've done here is I've made sure that we're using decent thickness material, and we've removed a lot of the like the science holes, the lightweight holes. They're not really reducing much weight, and that's where you need the strength. So right there is quite strong. And because we've only got 1 standoff, it means we've only got 1 hole to deal with, rather than both the little joints here for the K brackets and these holes, and bring in the complexity. So it means that you've overall got a stronger, lighter, cheaper part that you've got there. So yeah, right. So last is for, I guess, future options. So the first future option is the alloy hardware kit, and there's other things that are small things that are coming out, like possibly different colored PDBs. We know how you guys like to customize stuff. 6-inch arms and bigger, I'm sure, in the future for this design frame. So all these options are coming out there for you guys that want to do something different. But one thing that we've been working on for quite a long while, and it's not so much me, I've been having an input from a pilot point of view, but this is a project that is basically between 3 guys. So Sean Blakemore, Andrew McGlenigan, and Alex Wolf. Those 3 guys have been working on something really cool, and Alex and Sean were the big guys behind the original PDB that the Alien was running on, and this is the next step on that. And this is this one here, which doesn't actually have a name at this point in time. But this PDB is actually really, really cool. So I'm not a big fan of OSD, but I'm starting to use it here and there, especially for long distance flying. Long distance flying, I do find it handy to have, but this thing is very, very cool. So for starters, this goes on exactly the same way as the PDB on here. It's not structural, so it's a floating item. And fits in there. Here's the really cool thing about this. Now, I haven't tried this in very many other frames, but this being a 30.5mm standard bolt hole pattern, this should fit like 90% of these style frames out there, and some racing frames, without modification. Now, that's cool. Why would you want this? So, there are some really, really cool features that are coming out on this, and I've been told not to talk about all of them, and just leave them as a bit of a secret, because I know that Impulse likes to keep their secrets until things are out, and just not talk shit until it's actually out. But let's just say that, first of all, the old Arduino architecture, like the old KISS FC OSD thing, is gone on this. So this uses an STM32 chip on there, and this is one of the reasons why they're doing so much coding, because they've had to code back from scratch. But the fact that they've gone to a bigger, heftier chip has allowed them to do some really cool stuff. So for starters, all you guys out there, they go, well, this is only good for KISS. No, well, you can run this on beta. This is going to be compatible with those platforms. Not only is it going to be compatible, but it's going to be auto-detect. So you plug your flow controller in there, it'll find out what flow controller it is and just start going for it. Also, this you can not only configure everything on the OSD through your OSD, but this also has a user interface so that you can configure all that sort of stuff as well. I really don't want to talk too much about this, but early next year, I'm thinking around maybe January, this thing is going to be out there on the shelves, and it's really, really cool. There's a lot of stuff that this can do that a lot of other things can't do, and I think you guys should be pretty excited about it. I can't wait to get it out there. So this is the hard work of Alex, Sean, and Andrew. It's going to be on the frame that I worked on. I'm not gonna say that I've had a lot to do with this. I've had input on it, but they're the ones that are designed. So Sean's been in charge of the hardware design. Andrew is in charge of the user interface, and Alex is in charge of the coding for everything else. And those guys have been doing some amazing stuff there. So really kind of cool about that. So yeah. It's been about 6 months or so of hard work, and I'm kind of glad that it's not finished, but I'm kind of glad that it's out there. I'm really interested in just getting this out there so that I can actually. This is the first production frame that I've actually had. Everything else I've had has been prototype stuff, so I'm looking forward to get out there with actual production stuff and parts that were designed from the scratch from the factory, and really looking forward to that. And here's an interesting thing. So it's very interesting. I've seen a lot of times where people design frames and they only make a couple of frames and they're very scared about breaking them because they don't want to break the prototype. But I mean these just are some of the arms that I've gone through, and like these are old design arms where you break it there or you break it there, and old K brackets which I've just totally shattered, and here's some upper bottom plates shattering, lots of stuff. So the only way that you can really know whether something works or not is by going out there and just treating it like shit. So that's what we've been doing, and I'm not going to be the guy that go out there and say, well, it's unbreakable, you guys won't break it. Yeah, you'll break it, but it's a balance. It's a balance between performance and durability, and that's what we tried to achieve, and I really hope you guys agree with what we achieved. But I really would keen for your feedback and what you think of that so far. But I guess what I'll do is I want to do I've spoken a lot about the aspects in here, but I want to talk about the history of it and the design philosophy about why I chose certain things, and then I'll start talking to you guys, because I know you guys are asking questions on some shit, and I'll answer them in due course and so forth. But probably this time last year or even earlier, people were saying to me, "Oh, what would you do if you wanted to design your own frame?" And I was quite happy with what I was flying, But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, there's little minor things that I'd like to improve on what I'm flying and so forth. And I looked at what other people were coming out with, and there are other frames that came out with, other frames are coming out with new and cool stuff. But every time they came out with something cool, there's something that was added to the frame made it worse. So there's a positive, but there's also a really bad negative. So I continued to fly what I've always been flying, and didn't change. And at the start of the year, I actually started looking around, and I actually started coming up with a design for a hybrid style frame. So a frame with like half as long body of that and a low mounted battery on some stuff, and started coming up with some designs and testing some things. But I came to the conclusion I didn't like the way that it flew. I wanted a top mount battery. So I wanted a top mount battery. So that was the first design constraint that I came through. And then I started looking at other things. So things like lowering the battery as low as you possibly could. So I started getting some prototypes and actually getting like alien frames and stuff that I was familiar with and lowering the battery down. And then also had things like, for example, the Immersion RC Vortex Mojo, which has the battery on the prop line and actually has weight mostly below it as well. So I started testing that. And what I noticed was moving a battery up and down by 10, 15 millimeters compared to, say, 35 down to, say, 20, I noticed no real main difference in the way that it flew. It flew the same. And what I was doing was I was changing the height of the battery on the same frame. So I wasn't changing frames, I was changing the height of the battery on the same frame. And I really didn't notice any real difference. When I was only changing that one thing, I wasn't noticing any difference. I still wanted to get the battery down, because when you get the battery down, it reduces the amount of material you use, and it also increases the strength of the body that you're putting together. So I was keen on making that happen to a practical point, and that's where I came down to the 30mm standoffs with them coming from underneath the frame, because that meant that it was about, say, 24, 25 mil height from the bottom of the motor, which is where you really need to measure it from. So it was going to be a top mount battery, and then 30mm standoffs using this type of design was where I was going to go. And then it came down to arm geometry. So I started testing arm geometry, and I've actually got one of those prototypes there. So this is the old school alien that everyone knows. This is an alien with symmetrical arms. So I started testing symmetrical arms, because symmetrical arms were supposed to be like the shit and lots of stuff, so I went out and tested it. And what I found was the feel of the quad changed, but the performance didn't. So it didn't fly any better, it just felt different. And that came down to personal choice as to whether you thought it was better or not. So what I then started trying to do was, I thought to myself, I wonder if I can change the ratio of rate and RC rate in the flight controller to mimic that feel, and that's what I noticed I could do. So I could get the feeling of a symmetrical built quad in a Squished X quad to feel the same, just by changing the ratio of RC rate and rate so that roll and pitch differed. And I went, cool, okay, that actually works out kind of well. But the whole planted thing, there was a different feeling in that. So what I decided to do was to play around with arm geometry, just to see whether or not I could change the arm geometry and spread it out a little bit without making the arms too long. With my design, I managed to get the arms spread out a little bit, so it's Squished X, but it's about halfway between a symmetrical X and an alien Squished X, and that felt quite good. Another reason why I didn't want to go to symmetrical, if I could help it, was the problem with now that you've got these arms, these motors right out in front, you start having a problem where you either need a long body, and if you have a long body, then you add weight, then you lose rigidity and you lose toughness. You then have a problem with props being in shot. Now, this is a very personal thing, but I hate props in shot. It's just something that I absolutely hate. So I wanted to get it set up where I could have a low camera angle and still have no props in shot. So to me, 30 degrees camera angle is about as low as I go with my GoPro, and sometimes I go 25 degrees, but if I go 25 degrees, it's usually because I'm doing like a commercial shoot or something like that. And whenever I'm doing a commercial shoot or chasing someone, I switch from super view to wide angle, and that allows you to have a narrower field of view. So my aim was to get 30 degrees field of view with super view on and 25 degrees field of view with at wide. And that's pretty much what I've achieved there. So I decided not to go symmetrical, because it just didn't give the payoffs that I wanted. It changed the feel, but I could get the feel to change by changing the the numbers in the flight controller, and I didn't want to have to worry about the longer arms, the extra weight, the less strength, and props in shot. So I came to the geometry that I wanted to achieve, and I had top mount battery and the standoff height, which was dictated by the camera, and that led to why then I had to have a body like this. So you have to have a body like this to get the camera up high enough and in front enough so that you don't get props in shot, as well as being able to carry a top mount battery. So this whole design philosophy is because it has to be, and that's the way that I went with that. And then so we started off and we made some of the first prototypes. So this is the very first prototype that this is like literally the first one that came out, and very basic. It wasn't designed to look good. It was designed to be it was designed to be practical and like test the proof of concept. And you can see that this is noticeably bigger. So noticeably bigger body. This had a longer body, longer arms, and I was just testing the proof of concept, and it worked quite well. And I was really just dealing with how does it fly, how is it practical to build, and so forth, and it worked quite well. Once we tested out that I was happy with it, we could move forward. The first thing I did was let's see if we can bring the arm geometry down. So we still had quite nice gaps between the arms and the body and so forth, so that we could actually simply shrink the arm geometry down. I think this was 240mm motor to motor. So then we shrunk it down, and this is one of the older prototypes here, which brought the arm geometry down. As you can see, brought it down quite a bit. And that brought it down to 225mm, so that the arm geometry, so the motor to motor distance is the same as, say, the Alien, but it's just a little bit more stretched that way. So same motor to motor distance, but halfway between a true X and a squished X like the Alien is. And some of the other things we started changing on this design was we started going from this was just a completely flat plate to now it's a bit thicker in the front and then skinning ourselves down in the back, because there's no point in actually having this any wider than it needed to be. It was just basically slimming things down, lightening them up where they needed to be lightened up, and just starting to make it look cool. So this one here, we started flying this around. There's a couple of renditions of this one. This one worked really well, but what I was noticing was we also actually reduced the length of the body. So what the aim of this is so that I could actually have you could run a 1300 on there and keep it perfectly balanced, but also run a 1500 in there and keep it well balanced as well, because there's some of you guys out there, including myself, that like to run the 1500. So this will carry a 1300 with some spare room and a 1500 quite comfortably as well. What I noticed with this was when I was playing around with it was just, no matter what I did, it was always a little bit tail heavy, and I was having to really try and mount a lot of stuff further up, and it just wasn't working very well. So we went to the next prototype. What we actually did was with the whole body itself was actually slid further forward. So this is about 10 mils longer at the front than it is in the back, and the reason for that is to get it to balance a little bit better. And what that also does is the big chunky part up there where there's lots of material on there and lots of strength is perfectly fine, but this little lightweight tail itself actually gets shorter, so it doesn't need to be as strong, so you can lighten this up, which helps with the balance even further. And there was just a lot of little tiny little tweaks here and there. All in all, I think we did probably about 12 different renditions, and there was half a day's worth of changing and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it slowly got there until we got to some of the final ones. But I mean, this is essentially the final piece here, and it's actually taken a fair bit of screwing around to get it. And if you look at it, you'll actually see too. You'll see the difference in the thickness of the arms. So this is quite a quite a thin arm, and this is quite a thick arm. So we started off with a very, very thin arm, one that I knew was going to be under-engineered, and slowly increasing the width of it until it was at a practical strength level. I'm not going to say indestructible because it's not, but at a strength level where, okay, look, if you're going to break something, then you can't be really surprised in that regard. Yeah, all pretty cool. So this is what I wanted to fly. This is my all my ideas. Well, not all my ideas. There's so much stuff in here that is also other people's ideas. It's mainly myself and Sean from ImpulseRC basically bouncing ideas across one another, and this is the end result. And I've been really, really happy with this. I really hope that you guys are going to be happy with this. I hope that you guys appreciate that I've put a lot of design and effort into this to make it customizable for you guys, so that just because you guys don't use the same flight controller as me, or just because you don't use the same VTX or antenna or camera or whatever, that you can still fit this in here with that without screwing around with it, that it's customizable for you guys to make it your own, but it still flies well and you don't need to screw around with it. Yeah, and price, guys. I really hope you guys are happy with the price. This is not a price war or anything like that against anyone. This is to bring a price down. When I walked into the office and I started talking to Sean, I said I want to make a frame that is cheap enough that we might get the interest of those people out there that like to buy those cheap Chinese clone frames. We're never going to be able to compete to that. If you're a Western company that does original stuff and does R&D, it's just too expensive. You can't do that. But what we can do is we can bring the price down enough so that you guys out there that don't want to pay $120 for a frame, $80 might just convince you to go, well, shit, that's close enough that I might get it. So get some of you guys out there that wouldn't normally pay that. And our original target goal was $80, and we came in at $82. So I think $2 over, you can't complain about that. So I'm pretty happy with it, and I hope you guys are too. But I'm going to open it up to you guys for questions. It doesn't have to be about the frame. We can just go around and just talk shit or whatever, and I can tell you what my favorite drink is and so forth. And yeah, but if you got any specific frame questions, now's the time to ask them. I'll catch. Here you go, guys. You're going way too fast. Hang on a second. Oh, and just in case you guys were wondering, I finally removed him. I figured you guys were having fun with him. So, already did, Mark. How thick are the arms and top bottom plate? So, the arms are a 4mm. The top plate is 1.5mm. And you got the bottom plate, which is 2-piece. The front one is 2mm and the back one is 1.5mm. I think it is. Anyway, I've been talking numbers all day, so I hope I got them right. So I hope that clears it up for you. Nor what FPV said, honestly, at that price, I hope there's some sort of warranty. Personally, I'd rather spend $20 and get a nice chameleon. Know what? If that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. I have my thoughts about these warranty things. I'm going to keep them to myself. But at $82, if you're going to complain about the price, go. I don't care. Who carries it in the US? I would talk to the ImpulseRC guys about that. I don't have the exact people on there, but Impulse have been working extremely hard in the last couple of months to get resellers all around the world. So not just here in Australia, but also in England, all over Europe, US. Of course, you've got Rotor Riot, which is a reseller, but ImpulseRC has also been working hard and actually got a lot of other suppliers within the US as well. So I would ask on the ImpulseRC Facebook page or the RC Groups forum, and they will be able to get back to you with all their resellers. I just don't have them on hand, so sorry, I can't help you there. Whoop. Well, I lost everything. Final GlideEye, so what was the end result of the balance issue? How is it further forward? Did you just have to shrink the whole body? Thank you for removing the jackass. No worries. Okay, so the end result of the balance issues is that it balances. You wouldn't even, looking at it, you wouldn't even know that there's any change in there, and it's purely to improve the overall balance of it. And of course, the weight of everything that you use, be it camera, GoPro, no GoPro, battery, will affect that. But I was looking at the average weight to fix that. Now the change in it is very, very minor, but it's enough just to make for everyone else, for the most people out there using the average gear, make it balance right. So it's not much of a muchness, but there's just the little things that I wanted to point in there that that make the difference. Mike Chin said, what's the weight and price, dog? Okay, so the weight is with the current steel hardware version is 122 grams, and the alloy version is 110 grams. Now, to put that in comparison, an Alien in the same configuration is 130, and a Chameleon with the thicker bottom plate, the newer bottom plate, is 125. So I hate saying weights because everyone compares them differently, and I'm not trying to compare against other things, but that's like everyone knows the Chameleon, like the Stingy is 125 as well in the same comparison. So to give you comparison, so yeah, it's say about 5 grams lighter than a Chameleon in the same weight with the steel hardware, and about 15 grams lighter with the alloy hardware that's coming. Price is $82 for the base model steel hardware. $90 for the version with the PDB, and the alloy hardware pack will be coming out as an option soon. That'll be a little bit more. Have you tried to balance with the 1300 and 1500 batteries plus GoPro? I tend to use 1500 packs. Yes, when I'm talking about balancing, I'm talking about with a GoPro. So this is designed to balance really easily with a 1300, and you can also balance it with a 1500 and a GoPro. So yeah, not a problem. That is US. Sorry guys, I'm talking price in US. I always talk in US because otherwise people just get confused. Will we be able to buy spare arms? Of course, spares of everything. How do you mount the KISS ESC? The KISS ESC is just simply, I put a little bit of rubber foam tape on there, KISS ESC on the top, and then KISS ESC itself has heat shrink on it, and then I put some electrical tape around it. I am planning on doing a build video, maybe a live one, and I'll show you guys that. Can you talk about the CG and flight characteristics? Vic FPV, you asked that question. Yeah, sure, I can talk about it. Maybe you want to talk about it, because Vic FPV has been testing a reverb now for a while, and if you want to talk about it, like CG is smack bang on for me. flight characteristics, I don't know. I really don't know what to say. It just flies the way I want it to. So maybe you can say something better than I can, Vic. Do you have a recommended antenna tube length? The antenna tube length really depends on how much gear you've got there. So essentially what you can do is when you get this thing and you get the kit, where is it? You will get 2 pieces of these tubes. If you cut one of these tubes in half, the tube itself in half should be long enough for most scenarios. It's a very hard one to answer because I don't know how tall everything is. You want to get line of sight with your antennas from transmitter to receiver. So anything that's solid in between is going to affect it. And so, yeah, yeah. Toothless FPV, happy to see you. Happy Chad, congrats on the new frame. No worries. Would you consider it an Alien 2.0? No, I wouldn't, because there's nothing in the frame that is like sharing parts or anything like that. There's some ImpulseRC design ideals that are in there, but originally I wanted to make a change the Alien, but that seemed like a bad idea, so I went on my own. But there's basically nothing that's the same there. There's things that look similar, but there's nothing the same. I've taken all of the design ideas that ImpulseRC had at the beginning, all the good ones, and continued on with them and improved all the ones that I didn't like. What gear am I going to run in the quad? KISS, Hype Train. Well, my standard gear is the KISS V2, the KISS 32 amp ESCs, Hype Train motors. I'm running the Eagle 2 camera, but I'm also testing out the Predator, which I really like. The Tramp, usual thing. It's nothing groundbreaking. Why not a thicker bottom front? Because I haven't felt like we've needed it. I'm not breaking the front bottom plate. I just don't. I'm not saying you won't, but I'm saying I don't. That's not a very common thing to actually hit. Normally you hit the top, if anything. So I don't find that I need it. You guys will go out there and bash the crap out of them and show them where you're breaking them more the most, and so we'll find out, but I don't think we need it. Does the antenna tube bend in a crash? If you hit it really hard enough, yes it will. But look, here we go. Is that down far enough for you? And then it just goes straight back up again. And it's like, there we go, it's bent straight again. So it doesn't shatter. It's very flexible. This is actually a medical grade plastic tube that ImpulseRC uses, and it's fucking great. I love that, and you don't slice antennas anymore. They just don't break. The front standoffs are different lengths from the back. Yes, they are. They're different lengths. Congrats on the frame. Thanks. Paul asked about replacement arm costs. Please don't quote me, but I think there's something like about $5 or $7 or something like that. So pretty cheap and reasonable. You'd have to ask ImpulseRC. So Impulse, Sean, I'm sorry if I got the price wrong. I just don't have the prices right in front of me. Soft mounting options. So you're talking about soft mounting options. The soft mounting options, the quad comes with the kit with soft mounted little rubber soft mounts. These are little custom ones that we got made up, and I find they work really well. So there's bigger ones that you can buy, which I don't find work as well. So we made them up specifically for that. Is there any mounting solutions for crossfire antennas? Working on it. At this stage, let you guys do what you do best, but yeah, working on that. Can I talk about the teal drone? Sure, I can talk about the teal drone. Will GetFPV be carrying it? You'll have to talk to GetFPV. I'm not sure. They carry most things, so I guess they probably will. Maybe. Yeah. Tell the remix frame to get on their game. Look, if they're having problems with products, like they said they had a problem with one of their things, and they're delaying it, they're looking after you guys, so you can't complain about that. Love the hype train you made. Love the hype train ad you made. Thanks, man. Do the arms interlock with each other? Yes, they do. The arms interlock with each other, but not only that, inside they also have like lightning holes inside of them as well, because the bending strength is no longer needed, because the arm, when it goes inside those plates, now becomes a core material rather than a stiff spar, and the top and bottom plates become the spar cap, and this then becomes a core material. So all it's doing is just stopping the top and bottom plates from compressing. Try a run cam split. The V2 is pretty sweet for my needs. Yeah, the V2 run cam is a lot better. It's just not my kind of thing. What do you think of Tommy's new frame and putting the arms on the top plate for better CG? Is it a good idea? Look, I've got my ideas on frame design. Tommy's got his. I'm not going to say I'm right and he's wrong. All I would suggest is, if you want to try it, go out and try it. If you like it, great. But the only reason why I didn't go that way personally is, for me personally, I don't like props in shot. I like to do a lot of cinematic stuff, and I do the odd commercial type videoing where people don't want props in shot. They don't want you to know that you're flying a mini quad. That's very, very important for me. And the whole design principle of this frame is that, to get props out of shot, and that's probably my issue with that type of frame, but it's a personal one. What is the first thing I will break? Well, first of all, you spelt break wrong. And it all really depends on what you hit and how hard you hit it. Final Gliders, is there anything you wish you could have changed or see you could improve in the next revision? I've been working on this thing now for 6 months, so if I'm not happy now, then I'm not happy. Ask me in 6 months, another 6 months, and we'll see how things go. But I've broken enough shit, and I've flown this in enough different countries and different places, and built, I don't know, 10 prototypes now, or something along the lines of that, I'm happy with everything. Is everything 100% perfect? No, because it's a balance. Would I like to build something that never breaks? Of course I would, but once again, it's a balance. If I make it indestructible, it weighs too much. So I'm happy with the balance. Yeah, ask me in 6 months whether or not there's anything that I would change. Right now, I'm happy. What makes the teal special? Which teal are you talking about? Can you fit FC, ESC, and PDB in the stack? Yes, you can. Does it come with the GoPro mount? So the base model, when you buy it, doesn't come with the GoPro mount. The options that you can get at the moment, you can get the PDB and you can get the GoPro mount. The reason why they're not in the base model one is because not everyone wants the same thing. Not everyone wants a PDB. So why should we sell you a PDB with the kit and make you pay more when you don't need it? Why should we sell you a 30-degree camera angle mount when you want a 40-degree camera angle mount? Or why should we sell you any of these when you just want to use a piece of foam? So we're giving you the ability to choose. Will the OSD on the PDB you showed us work for Betaflight, KISS, Raceflight, or just KISS? This PDB here is auto detect and will work for both KISS and Betaflight. Not 100% sure on Raceflight. ImpulseRC is not keen on supporting race flight, it would seem. But hang on one second. Is this available as we speak? Yes. If you want to purchase this frame, it is available right now at the ImpulseRC website, and shipping will commence next week. We'll also be shipping to retailers around the world. So, yeah, you want it? It's there. Well, I don't know how you deal with the public so well. You're a much better person than I am. I have my moments, but what can I say? The internet brings the trolls out. Can I send it proper or just send it? Because I want to be positive I can send it to the moon. You can send it, buddy. You can send it. I can video your wedding if you want. It'll be an interesting point of view. Eric Kanaski, how fast does it go? Fast, very fast. Faster than your mother. Can I hold it next to an alien for size comparison? Sure. So this is a 5-inch alien. There you go. Is that? So the body of this thing is the motor distance is the same as a 5-inch alien, just with different geometry, and the body itself is about halfway between a 5 and a 4-inch alien body. We chose that size specifically for balance reasons, and so that a pilot can run a GoPro and a 1300 or 1500 battery on there and keep it balanced. So to give you the ability to use what components you want to use. Does it take the steel PDB? No, it doesn't take the steel PDB. If you look at it, it has a 2-bolt design rather than the 3-bolt design that the Alien does. If we made this compatible with the steel PDB or the Alien style PDB, it would have completely screwed up the middle here. Now, if you compare the difference, that's very, very wide, that's very, very narrow. I wanted to remove a bit of weight in there, so that was an area that I wanted to improve, and that's why it's not compatible. So if you have a look at the size of that, compared to the size of that, there's the difference in size there. And very, very soon, very early next year, possibly January, I'd say, this the new PDB will be available, which does that and a lot more. What type of carbon did I use? The type of carbon that I used, there's a number of different types of carbon in there, but the carbon is nothing awfully new to ImpulseRC. I'm not going to say the exact layup because it's not important. Yeah, there's been a number of different layups that ImpulseRC has been using for a while, and we basically just looked at the way that the carbon was being used and where we wanted the strength, and tailored it to that. Will the OSD PDB have regs like 5 and 12 volt? Yes, it will. With the FC, will it come with the Helix VTX as an option with the reverb? There are things that are being worked on. With a small amount of modification, you could actually fit the, I'm pretty sure you can fit the reverb, sorry, the Helix whole stack in there. You can fit all that in there. The only difference is the Helix uses a 30mm bolt hole pattern, where this is the standard 30.5. So the whole geometry is slightly different, and you've got to cut that out a little bit. But I'm pretty sure you can make it all fit in there. How many screws hold each arm? 2 screws per arm. Does it have wheels? Yes, big ones. No, you can't tape a steel PDB to it. It just won't work because of the geometry. Actually, yeah, no, it won't fit. It won't fit. Will it fit a micro camera like the Foxy Arrow? It will fit any standard size FPV camera, and it'll also fit the mini cameras that come with those adapter plates that go on the side of it. If you want to put a micro in there, then I'm sure you could do some modification and put it in there. The reason why I didn't go with the micro cameras is I'm not impressed with their lower light and all-round performance. I'm happy to add 5 grams or so to the weight of the quad to get the better visual performance. If I can't see what I'm flying through, then I can't make sure that I miss it. I personally believe that those micro cameras are great in racing quads, but I don't like them in freestyle quads. I'm sure you could fit one in there if you really want, but it's not me. Can you beg ImpulseRC to get a UK distributor? I believe they already have one. So I would ask ImpulseRC on the Facebook page or on the RC Group's forum where that is. ImpulseRC has been getting distributors all around the world, and I'm pretty sure they got some in the UK already. Have I ever used or considered curved cambered materials for added strength? What do you mean by curved or cambered materials? Problem with this kind of stuff is you can only get it in flat plate design. As soon as you start going curved, that's customized and molded, and if you're going molded, you may as well go molded the whole hog. Problem with molders is expensive, and you're not going to get an $80 frame of quality for that's going to be molded. What camera would you suggest? The Swift 2, the Eagle 2, the Foxy Predator is very, very nice. What motor size do you recommend? I like the 2306 style motors, but depending on what you want to do, there's plenty of options out there. Yes, the Mercury should fit. So who is making the PDB OSD? ImpulseRC is making it. So how are you guys able to get the frame so cheap? Did you guys cut any corners? I spoke about this. The reason why we were able to get the frame so cheap is, first of all, the standard kit uses steel hardware rather than alloy hardware. And the rest of the frame has come in so cheap that we're able to make this frame lighter than pretty much every other frame out there and still use steel hardware. So the cost of decent alloy hardware is half the cost of one of these frames. It's very, very expensive to use good quality hardware. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's just fucking expensive. So you can reduce the cost a lot by going to steel hardware and cheaper hardware. And there's nothing wrong with steel hardware except for the fact that it's heavier. So if you can get the weight of the frame down by being a little bit more careful about how you design it, then you're foregoing the problems of the extra weight and cheaper. Next, what we did was we reduced the amount of hardware and the amount of materials and the amount of processes involved in making it. So that brought the price down there as well. What we also did was, for example, I took a hit on and Impulse did as well for things like profit margin per frame, so forth, which brings things down. So did we cut any corners on the actual frame? No. This is the same good quality carbon that ImpulseRC has always used from the same manufacturer. It's the same quality foam there. It's the same. The hardware is the same quality hardware, just a different type of hardware. We've massaged the way that we do things to try and improve on that side. What happened to my voice? Too much talking. That's what happened to my voice. How much can you fit in there? All of the things. Any plans for a 6-inch? Yes, 6 inches coming. The standoffs for the rear are shorter than the front. Yes, they are. I'm getting that frame and I want the upgraded PDB. Yes, hopefully it won't be too much longer. It's kind of cool. What's the layout size for the motor holes? The motor holes are a 16-19, so same as what the Alien is, where you've just got two holes. So it's not a slot, it's 2 pre-drilled holes where you can choose that. So we originally started off on a 16x16, and that's what I really wanted to go, because it just reduces the amount of complexity and weight, and you can put more material around there for the same size to make it stronger. But we came to the conclusion that there are guys out there that still use the 16x19 and the 19x19 stuff. So for the time being, at least, you've still got that option. Added some weight, and some extra CNCing, but so be it. Have I ever had an RX not give stick inputs on your SC on beta flight? Don't know, sorry. Will steel motors fit? I'm sure they will, they're standard. Done anything in my power to make sure the steel, everything. I've done everything in my power to make sure the steel PD won't fit. You're probably trolling there, Mike, but let me just make this. I couldn't give a fuck whether the steel PDB fits in there or not. The simple fact of the matter is that layout PDB has got some major fucking flaws. And if I made it compatible, the whole center section of this quad just wouldn't make any sense to me. So if I could make it fit, I would, but I didn't. Rather than fighting, I just wanted to make something better. What can... Wow, this thing... Do you have a fully built one you can show us, and what's the all-up weight with GoPro and 1500 battery? Tim Bell, I'm not going to give you a fully built-up weight because there are so many different factors involved in the weight there. You should never compare weights fully built up. So weigh whatever it is that you like to put in there, and then add either 110 for the alloy pack version or 122 for the steel hardware base model version. That's how it is. All these people that love numbers, what happens is the manufacturer will go and say that their frame is lighter by leaving out some things. And then they go, look, ours is 25 grams lighter when it's actually only like 5 grams lighter. And if you want me to name names, I hate doing this shit, but the perfect one is the QAVR from Lumia. They say it's 99 grams. That's the biggest load of crap. Add about 20 grams to that, and then you've got the actual weight. I know because I've got one over here that I weighed. CFPV said, can it fit a normal Swift camera unlike the Alien without mods? Yes, it can. It is designed to carry all types of cameras in there without modification. That was not easy to do, but we want to make it fit everything. Let's see the frame again. Sorry, I'm behind on all of everything here. Hey, it's Brian Phillips. Sorry, I'm being late here saying that. How you doing, Brian? So yeah, Brian Phillips is from Brain 3D, and Brian is the one that's responsible for all of these really cool stuff. So yeah, we basically wanted, I wanted to team together with someone who's doing cool stuff, and Brian's doing really cool 3D printed parts. So please, if you're buying from ImpulseRC, we've got stock in stock, which we bought from Brian or Brain 3D. But yeah, if you feel the need, please go to his website, Brain 3D, as I put it up on there, Brian, brain3d.com, I'm guessing, and go and support him. His stuff is dirt cheap and it's really good quality stuff. Yeah, I just want to thank Brian for putting up with all the little tiny changes that we've made with that kind of thing. Hey Chad, what's the biggest changes with the Reverb that saved the most weight with the new frame? There's no real one change that's made a massive savings in weight. So this is 20 grams lighter than the equal Alien. It's basically 2 or 3 grams here and there, and then it all adds up. Okay, let me phrase that. What camera do you use currently? I'm liking the Eagle 2. It's a pretty good camera. It's got its flaws. I've done some custom settings to it to make it look better. The standard settings suck. But I'm just started testing the Predator, which I'm really, really happy with. In the next couple of weeks, I'll let you know what my thoughts are. But yeah, my rule of thumb now is fuck CCD. CMOS is where it's at. See, I can't go back to CCD cameras. They are fucking terrible. How much does it weigh? I'll say it again. 122 grams in this configuration with the steel hardware. The alloy pack, which is coming out soon, this one weighs 110 grams. In comparison, an Alien in this same setup weighs 130. A Chameleon with the V2 bottom plate weighs 125. A Stingy in the same configuration weighs 125. So that gives you a comparison, apples to apples. Are the arms chamfered? Okay, very good question. Are the arms chamfered? No, they're not. Why are the arms not chamfered? Because I wanted to get the cost down. Chamfering arms is actually quite fucking expensive. Anytime you've got another process when it comes to doing work on carbon, or you have to change a CNC bit, that adds the cost. Chamfering is another process and another bit, and it all adds up. At the end of the day, chamfering does nothing except make it look good. So if you want to pay more for it looking good, then great. But people have spoken en masse that they want things cheaper. So you want cheap, we've given you cheap. There we got that. But there's downsides to it. That means you don't get chamfered arms. But I've never understood chamfered arms, apart from the whole wank factor of it looking good. It doesn't make it stronger. It doesn't limit the amount of delamination and all that sort of stuff. Apart from looking good and reducing the amount of prep time to the carbon, then it doesn't do anything. But I'll say right now, this is straight out of the box. This is nothing touched. I don't need to prep any of this carbon. It's not sharp. It's not cutting me. It's not going to cut anything else. I don't customize. I don't prep carbon anymore. I just build it. Can we see the one you fly fully built? I've got one of the prototypes up in my car. It's not here. I'll go and grab it in a second. I've got stuff literally here. Actually, no, I've got one here. So here you go. Here's one. This one that I've bashed around, and it's got some prototype arms on it. So this is a 30-degree mount, Brain 3D mount. And you can see if this gets hit, see how this bends inside here, so it doesn't actually cut or anything like that. It'll go higher than your mama, Mike Chin. Yes, Brian from Brain 3D has made up some 3D printed soft mount arm guards that go out on the edges of the arms. So you guys that love flying in car parks and so forth, you'll love that. So that'll be at Brain 3D as well. An airplane style mount is what 16 by 9 is. Should have gone to 16 by 16. Yes, a lot of the motors now are going to 16 by 16, which is what we should have done ages ago. But there still are a lot of motors out there that are 16 by 19, and some motors have actually gone 19 to 19. So as a frame designer, you really need to have it compatible with all motors until that whole change matures. Should I put super glue on the arms once I chamfer them? I wouldn't. That's something that I see car guys do, and it honestly doesn't really make much of a difference. If you're going to hit shit with your arms, it's going to start to delaminate, and the super glue is really not going to make that much of a difference. It looks cool and shiny. It depends. Like, if you want to make your frame look fucking amazing, then go ahead and do it. But I mean, I build my frames so that I can run them into trees and walls. So I want it to look neat, but I don't care that it's going to look fantastic. Could I do another commercial for the frames? No. What's my favorite color? Blue. Did you already talk about how the XT60 connects to the battery? I can do it again if you guys want. So here's the frame, here's the optional PDB. So if you're running a PDB, you put this through here and it slides over. See, the holes are oversized and they slide over the soft mounts and then over the press nuts. And then the PDB itself is double-sided taped and soft mounted basically to the frame. And then you can see that you've got your pads here, positive and negative pads, which then this is the supplied cable, and you'll see the lengths of the cable are different lengths because what you do is you mount like that and solder to those two pads, and then right here, where is it? There's actually a little bit of a slit in the frame here where you can put a small zip tie through, which will give strain relief right about there, which will allow you to bend this up. Actually, what's better is I'll show you on mine. So there's the zip tie there, and that gives the strain relief there, so that if you do eject the battery, you're not going to lift the PDB off the frame or damage the pads that it's soldered to. And the PDB itself, because different FCs go out the different side, you've got pads there and pads there on either side. So you can choose which side you want to go. So once again, it's customization. It allows you to do what you want. So that's what I've found to be the best method, but just because I find it does, you might want to do something different. It allows you to customize it. For those of us who don't fly with the GoPro, can you guys professionally cut a longer battery pad as an option so we can center the CG better with 1500 batteries? That's certainly an option. Well, when you get this, for example, when you get this pad, you actually get all these little, these are actually got little bits of foam rubber in there where you could actually mount them quite easily on there. I'm sure if you spoke to Impulse, they'd consider it. It's more a question of whether or not there's enough customers out there to really warrant doing that. And most people are going to stick a GoPro on there to fly. But I'm not saying they won't. I can only say you can ask. I don't have the final say on that kind of thing. Will it come with blue hardware? The idea in the future for the alloy hardware packs to come out with multiple color ones, like you can choose with the Alien. So you can choose which color alloy hardware pack you want to customize it. What's my favorite place to fly? I don't give a shit about the flying locations these days. I give a shit about the people I'm flying with. Is there going to be a low KV 6-inch hype train available? Yes, Tommy's working on one. Can you connect to the other side than the XT6? You can connect the other side to the AS, yes. Wouldn't soldering a capacitor to the underside of the unused side of the PDB work? Yes, but you don't need to. For those guys who like soldering on the capacitors, there's pads at the back of the PDB there already for you guys to solder on there. So that's for things like VTX. So if you're like, I mount my tramp and I just go and direct solder it to the direct LiPo, but you can also put capacitors on there either or at the same spot. So if you're a capacitor lover and that shit makes you get all horny every time you put a capacitor on there, there you go, you can put one on there as well. Pads aren't labeled on the PDB for signal, telemetry, or ground. What are the pads for? So that is in the same order as a KISS ESC. So you got signal, is it signal, ground, telemetry? I'm pretty sure it is. I'm trying to think now. Where is it? I used to talk to so many things. So yeah, you've got signal, telemetry, ground is the standard one for going across there. So it's the same as what the KISS ESCs are. But if you go to the ImpulseRC website, they have an online manual and a PDF and all that sort of stuff for a layout of all those kinds of things. Because all these things are so small, it's not practical to put anything on there. Yeah, you go online there and you'll be able to find all that information there for you. Why is it called the Reverb? Because it sounds cool. We were coming up with a number of names, and that was sort of our work in progress name that Tom, who cuts out a lot of the prototype stuff, came up with, and it kind of stuck. And after a while, it was kind of like, I just love the name Reverb. What is the point of... Where is the point of diminished returns in milliamp hour size? It depends on your setup. When is the next time you're going to be on Rotor Riot? When Chad Kappa invites me over there and asks me to be on an episode. I was really convinced this frame was going to be called the Hype Frame, but I guess Rotor Riot wouldn't have been happy. I don't think they would have had an issue. It's just Hype Frame, nah. Unfortunately, I'll give it 30 days and there'll be a damn clone. Absolutely loving the frame. Definitely be ordering one. Fly for fun. Fuck everything else. Thanks, Tim Bell. Nice. Thanks for the nice comments. Yeah, you'll be right. There'll be a clone out there. There's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is rely on the right people to do the right thing. And those people that go out there and buy the clone of that aren't supporting me probably have no interest in supporting me anyway. So I'm not losing anyway. So I just don't give people like that the time of day anyway. I'm trying to keep up with these. Will there ever be a 180 version? I'm not planning it at this stage. I won't never say never. You never know. It might be. So the difference is a 180 version, you go to a 4-inch. 4-inch is crap at carrying GoPros. So all of a sudden now the whole design parameters change immensely because a GoPro isn't involved. So you can do a completely different design. What is the point of ESC telemetry if KISS doesn't have an OSD? Interesting question, Jordan. Well, for example, if you're using a KISS flight controller gets its milliamp hour consumption from the ESCs. And just because you don't have an OSD doesn't mean that you can't use it. I can get exactly the same telemetry from all that stuff that goes through my Tyrannus, and I get audio prompts. I'm going to do a video on it. I don't like OSD. I get all the information from telemetry, audio prompts, and warnings on to stuff, audio through my radios. So it's still completely beneficial. But yeah, if Just because you don't have an OSD doesn't mean you don't need it. What's your thoughts on low kV and high voltage bats theory? I like the idea of low kV and high voltage. I've always said 5 and 6 inch with the correct kV motor and the correct prop work extremely well, and they have their advantages. Yeah, it's this whole high kV, high voltage, high pitch prop bullshit, which I've never liked personally. I mean, do what you want to do, but it just it doesn't work for me. But the whole low kV, yeah, it works. It always has worked. Just everyone's just been so caught up on the whole high speed, high power hype train that they forget about what's actually practical. Does this mean a 6 inch would be called an echo? Will Impulse ever make a small frame? I don't know. Please make Rotor Riot podcasts. Rotor Riot is making podcasts. Apparently I'm not a part of it, so Do you go to try... I want to go to Flight Fest, the original Flight Fest this year coming up. I love Flight Fest. Yes, hi Kathleen. What capacitors use 4S? I don't understand. Can we make a fake expensive frame as a decoy to put the cloners out of business? Yes, 12-year-old people still can't afford an ImpulseRC frame. Hands off if you still rock a Martian. Buttery Puffer. I'm not saying if I'm not sure if you're 12 years old or not, but let me tell you a really quick story. I, along with all these other people, once were 12 years old. Now, there weren't FPV frames out there, but I can tell you right now, I wanted to get into RC, and there was not cheap Chinese stuff out there. There was only high-quality, expensive stuff. You know what I did? I worked and I saved, and I waited a little bit fucking longer. So I'm not gonna have a go at you for having a Martian. That's your choice. But the moment you come out and say, that's not affordable, it's not my fault, and fuck you, my reply back is, you know what, fuck you. I understand you're young. I understand that, and I understand getting money is hard, but guess what? We've all been there, and we've all had to deal with it. And the way that we dealt with it was we worked hard, we saved, and we waited. Because when we did it, we didn't have a choice. We didn't have the cheap Chinese knockoff crap. All we had was one choice. So we learnt to save. We learned to understand the importance of that. And we learnt to respect what we fucking got. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say apart from that. People say, oh, well, I'm not going to support you. You know what? If you're buying that shit, you're not supporting me anyway. Opinion on 5.5 inch props? I don't know. I really don't think there's this massive difference between 6 and 5 inch props personally, and so I don't see 5.5 inch sort of filling this void that we really badly need. But for the right frame, I guess it works. Am I going to put out a special version signed or something? Look, you buy a frame, I'll sign it for you. I don't need to bring out a special version of that. This is my frame. Just because I'm not the kind of guy to put my name on it doesn't mean that it's not mine. Yeah, but I'm happy to sign for it, and I'm not going to charge you for it. If I happen to see you and you want me to sign it, I'm happy to. Yeah, exactly, Mike Chin. You said, when I started flying, I couldn't even afford the FPV part, so I flew line of sight till I could. That's exactly how I did it. I flew line of sight for about 4 months because I couldn't justify the FPV side of it. And all I did was I just flew line of sight because I wanted to learn that as well. So I didn't buy everything at once. This whole I can't afford shit, sorry, but I don't get it. I understand that some people have tighter budgets than others, but this whole, oh, I can't afford it, and now I'm going to smash it into a brick wall now that I've got it. I don't get it. I just don't. So if it's too expensive for you, great, don't buy it. That's your choice. No one's going to judge you for that. But don't come on here complaining you can't afford it. It's because you choose not to wait to afford it. For fuck's sake, I want a Ferrari, but I can't justify it. Could I afford one day? Yes, I could. If I did nothing else for years and years and years and years and years and all I did was save up for one, I could get one, but I can't justify it. That's the difference. Afford and justify are two different things. I don't want to start this whole lol, yeah, fuck you, 12-year-old. It's not that. It's a I don't buy the whole I can't afford it thing. It's a I can't justify the cost, or I don't want to wait. And it's not because someone's young or whatever. There are older people with a similar thing to that. But this kind of mindset is what's killing the hobby. It's killing the industry, guys. And it needs to change. People are going out of business because they can't make money in this, and they're not trying to rip people off. It's purely because people are not willing to pay what things are worth. And yes, I know that it might only be $10 worth of electronics on a PCB. That's not the full cost of it. And until you get into the business side of it, you won't understand. What's the biggest thing that you have seen wrong in the FPV community? Social media. If we could get rid of social media, the FPV community wouldn't be as big. But I tell you what, it'd be a hell of a lot friendlier place. What receiver do you use? Zolan FPV, still X4R. Have you tried the RXSR? I've got the RXSR. I don't like the fifth wave antennas. I've tried them. I don't trust the range. I've already had problems with it. I still personally use, I've got like a dozen of the old school X4Rs with the UFL connectors on them and so forth, and the quarter wave antennas and the decent gauge wire answer stuff. Absolutely love them. They're solid as a rock, and I never damage them. They're nicely put in here and never damaged. So I'm going to keep on using them while I can. I am working with Rotor Riot and FR Sky to make a custom version of the RXSR to fix some of the. I couldn't fix all of the problems with the RXSR, but a change to it to make it better. And we'll see how that goes. How you doing, Mindless? Mindless said, congratulations on the frame, just ordered 2. Wait, can't wait to build. Dude, thanks for that, Mindless. If you guys don't know Mindless, he's over there in LA. Mindless just... he cracks out frames. If you like, he just loves building. He builds so much stuff. Check out Mindless FPV's YouTube channel, because what he does is he loves building and then going and just flying frames, so you can see how different frames and how different electronics fly. He just does everything, and it's really cool. Would you recommend this for a second quad? I'd recommend it for a first, second, third, fourth quad. No, just kidding. Yeah, sure, not a problem. How much does the reverb weigh? This is a constant question that I'm getting. Okay, so I'll answer this one more time. And I don't, like I said, I don't like answering it because there's so many variables involved. So the stock steel hardware version weighs 122 grams. This has the optional alloy pack on it, which will be available soon, which brings the weight down to 110 grams. Now, to put that in comparison, because some people add certain things on and add different weights, comparing this to other frames in the same configuration, the Alien weighs 130 grams and the Chameleon with the V2 bottom plate weighs 125 grams, as does the Stingy, which is 125, 124 or something like that. So it's about 4 or 5 grams lighter than a Chameleon with steel hardware, and 15 grams lighter with the coming alloy package, and is 20 grams lighter than the original Alien. What are my thoughts on the Hyperlight Evo frame? I don't really have any thoughts. Homegrown Canadian FPV broke over 25 hype trains in less than a month. Plenty of bells. What the hell are you doing? Yikes! What's your opinion on super high KV freestyle motors being released lately? It's this balance. Like, the power is great, but it depends on how you fly it. If you're really pushing, then it can be a problem. You fuck your batteries over. So yeah. Would you recommend this for a first build with no build experience? Yeah, sure. Why not? It's not a hard build. It's not really much different to a lot of the other builds out there. If you don't want to build, then you can get a ready to fly quads for like the Vortex 230 Mojo, but I'm guessing you want to build. So yeah, the more important thing is, I think, in terms of how hard something is to build, is probably what components you use. Chad signed my Tyrannus even after I'd flown my crappy Martian in his place. Definitely buying a Frank. You're welcome. I mean, if you really want me to damage your transmitter and sign it, I'm happy to do it. I don't care what quad you're flying. I just care when people complain like that. Yeah, Miss Pro. Wait, well, what happened then? What brand of batteries do you fly? I'm using, what are they? They're upstairs. The Great Dynergy graphene batteries. That's because they're easy to find here in Australia. It's very hard to find batteries here, and they just work. Can you ruin an antenna's range with too much heat shrink on it? Well, it depends on what the heat shrink is made out of, whether it's a dielectric or not. So, yeah, any kind of solid material is going to affect range to a certain extent. I would say if you've got 1 or 2 layers of heat shrink on there, it's probably, generally speaking, not going to affect it in any practical sense. But yeah, you can. Nick Bengali said, order reverb frame at the beginning of the vid, stoked for it to arrive. Are there any currently publicly available 3D print files I can start printing for mounts? Nick, I would check the ImpulseRC website. Brain 3D was kind enough to make the couch mount, his couch mount design public, and I'm told that it's going to be on the ImpulseRC website. If it's not there, then I would either ask, well, you could try customer support, but they're probably busy. I would ask on the Facebook page and the ImpulseRC Facebook page or the RC Groups page about where they're going to put it. But it's, I've been told it's going to be on the Facebook page, sorry, on the ImpulseRC.com page, so that you can get the file there, and that at least gives you the footprint of the file where it sits, and then you can either just print out the couch mount or modify it however you want. Just on the question of the reverb, how would you convert it to a lowrider? I was going to buy motors, but now I'm thinking otherwise. Too much guilt. Look, please do what you need to do. I'm not trying to tell you that you're wrong if you make your own choice in life. I just don't want. I hate it when people complain. They're the choice that you make. If you want to go out and buy a clone, I'm not going to stop you. And if I see you in a park and you're flying a clone of something I designed, I don't care. It's not a problem. But I just don't get the whole complaint if I can't afford it, especially something this cheap. I really don't. So, yeah. But your question is, how would you convert it to a lowrider? As far as I'm concerned, it is a lowrider. This whole lowrider thing, what's the next craze going to be? High rider? If you want to convert it to a lowrider, then you're going to have to modify the K brackets. You're going to have to modify the standoff lengths. It's already at about 24 millimeters above from the motor mount, so that is in lowrider territory. If you need it lower, then you will need to modify it. Wow, this is really hard to catch up. The Alien was my first build after watching Chad many moons ago. Gave me a whole new leaf of life and friends. Thank you so much, Chad. What you do is important. That deserves support. Thanks, man. I'm just doing it. I mean, I'm doing it because I wanted to build something I want, but at the same time, finally make some money from this industry. So thanks for the kind words. I missed it. When will they start shipping your frame? You can order it now. Shipping is they're hoping to start shipping next week. Batteries are batteries unless they're R-line. Batteries really literally are batteries. To me, they're very much the same. This one rocks and this one sucks, I don't get it. IRC Will, the customer sort is going on. Okay, so on here we've got IRC Will. IRC Will, he's the guy that responds to any customer support emails that you send ImpulseRC. So I highly suggest that you send him lots to really troll the shit out of him. And Battery Puffer, look, by the way, send me a message on Facebook if you can. I want to know where you are. I understand that times are tough, but I don't have a lot myself. I'm not a rich person, but if I can help you with some stuff, I really would be happy to. I can't guarantee what I can get, but I'll talk with the Impulse guys. Maybe I could get you a frame. Maybe I could get you a set of hype train motors or something like that. If I can get something sent out to you to help you, then I'm more than happy to. So please send me remind me who you are. Send me a message via Facebook, and if I can help you, then I will. I'm not swimming in stuff, and I'm not a rich man, but look. I like helping the kids out there that I know that's tight. So yeah. Dab for Kathleen Hickey. There we go. I know how to dab. See, I got kids. Dab, I'm going to dab. Look, I'm a bit behind on the comments. I'm sorry. Since when do you have kids? I've got an 8-year-old and I've got a 14-year-old. There you go. A lot of people don't know, but I've got an 8-year-old who's he loves reading stuff and he loves being on his Xbox 360. And my 14-year-old is now taller than I am. So yes, I have kids. How do you cancel antenna nulls? The null point of the antenna. Well, that's why we have diversity. So the null point of this antenna is like going like straight up here and down that way. So whenever this one is facing that way, this one's at right angles, and whenever that one's facing that towards you, that one's at right angles. That's what diversity does. Tell your kids to join the Air Force and fly with me. Yeah, that would be cool. I always thought Chad was the best ambassador for FPV. I don't know, like, I have opinions and I'm not afraid to put them out there. Some people don't like that. Some people like that. That's for them. Like, I'm being mean. If you don't like it, then don't support me. I don't really care, but I'm being honest. There's a lot of people out there that are not being honest that I wish would, that are being supported a lot, and I don't like that. I like things to be on the table, and people to be honest. So yeah, but I mean, look, if I want to help people, I'm more a hobbyist than anything else. I knock back money so that I can continue being a hobbyist when I shouldn't probably. Well, guys, I think I'm caught up with all the questions now. Do you guys have any particular questions? Because I've been talking for quite a while now and should probably wrap this up. So if you've got some important questions you want to do, then I will more than happy answer them. But I've been talking for so much and I've got a dry throat, so I need to give this a bit of a break. By the way, I am 5'7". Tommy's really short. Is the alloy hardware kit aluminium or something else? No, it's alloy. The whole titanium is a big craze right now. We can't. First of all, I don't think that titanium is as fantastic as people put it out to be. Titanium has some good properties. But only used in the right area. And I think there's so many people out there that want to use titanium in their quad because it's the new hype phrase, and because it's called titanium, and the SR-71 is made out of titanium. It's this wonderful fucking material. It's got negatives just as well as positives, and it's there's so many areas where it's no good at being used that people want to use it, and you can't just use it in every single bolt hole because some places it's no good at being that. So the alloy package that this will come out with has some steel and has some aluminium bolts in there, and they're used in certain locations for reasons. And not using titanium in there for specific reasons because I don't agree with it being used in so many other areas. The other fact is it's fucking expensive to get good quality shit. You're buying cheap titanium. It's cheese. It's crappy. It's no good. Yeah, I just don't see the point in it personally, where you can get the same thing by using an alloy package. And there's no point in getting into the details. Let's just say that's not in there. So it's going to be an aluminium package, which is lighter than the actually lighter than the titanium package anyway. But there will be 4 steel bolts in there in certain areas for strength where it's required. No, Kathleen, I'm not going to answer you. How do you think I should go about breaking some habits of flying auto level for 4 years on line of sight? I'm trying to get into FPV with ESA. Wow, you've been flying auto level for 4 years. I've always said the longer you stay in auto level, the harder it is to get out of it. All I can say is practice. It's going to be a pain in the ass, but practice. One thing I could suggest is on your radio, you'll have a spring-loaded switch that for like a trainer switch. I would suggest you put auto level on that switch if you have to put it on a switch. So that way you have to actually physically hold onto the switch to have it in auto level. So it's still there, but you can't rely on it. It's literally just, it's stick time. You're going to be frustrated. It's going to be annoying. You've just got to sit there. Learn the basics again. Hovering. Forget about all your tricks, your flips, all that sort of stuff. Learn hovering. Once you've got hovering, then move on to forwards and backwards, sideways, figure eights. Move on to all those things. Do it slowly. But eventually it'll just click and you'll go, shit, why wasn't I doing this 4 years ago? Thanks for the info, Chad. I'll be reporting this on Spun News podcast this Sunday. I thought I'd better get on this podcast. It's from Quad Guy 27. Hey, if you want me on your podcast, just get in contact with me. I'm happy to go on any podcast, dude. I enjoy just chatting and shooting the shit. So, anyone wants me on a podcast just to talk? I don't have any alliances with anyone in particular. I'll jump on there. So this is an invitation. Anyone who wants me on a podcast, I don't have to talk about my frame. We'll just talk. We'll just chew the fat. I'm happy to be on there. Great, good. We'll buy the new frame, but I want new flying videos. Love the style. Miss your flying. Cheers, dude. These days I fly when I want to fly, and when I'm passionate about putting out a video, I put out a video. I sort of haven't had that passion a bit more of late, but I'm kind of hoping that'll change. And staying off social media and getting away from all the hatred groups and lots of stuff has helped. Going out there and flying for the sake of flying. So hopefully you'll see some more videos out of me soon. Chad, I want you to come to Riverside and fly with me. Where's Riverside, Sean? Happy to. I just don't know where that is. NQIS Steve, thanks for the nice comments, dude. If I don't have room for a run cam micro, what should I do? Well, I don't know. The regular cameras are pretty cheap. You could put a micro in there, possibly, and make a 3D print mount that goes over the standoffs, maybe. If someone's usually got a friend has got a 3D printer, so you could design something to go in there if you want. Like I said, I just haven't designed it for micro cameras because, apart from racing, which I think they're perfectly suited for, I just don't like them in freestyle quads. How come you or any Rotor Riot don't use LaForge module? Nothing wrong with the LaForge module. I originally did use a LaForge module. It's in my HDV2s, I think. I had them in there. It burnt out a ribbon cable, and so that's when I changed over. I just don't like having to use both module bays and then either having a stupid wire on the front or having to modify the inside of the goggles to make it work. I prefer the True D because it's all in one bay and it works the same. So, yeah. Do the antenna mounts wrap the standoffs or are they structural? You mentioned something about screw holding the antenna through tube. Okay, yeah, I'll answer that. So no, they don't. If you look, you'll see that's as high as the standoff is, and that's a structural point. So this is like a molded style plastic. It's a glass nylon mix. Very, very sturdy. I wouldn't worry about snapping them or cracking them or anything like that. They're extremely sturdy. great little mounts, and yeah, so they don't wrap around it. They're actually they sit on top of the standoff, and you could use that in any frame that uses that kind of style of standoff. Zolan FPV said, Chad, I deleted my Facebook and it felt awesome. Yeah, I wish I could do that. I still need that because social media is part of it, but all I did was I deleted myself from all the big FPV groups. Now I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I don't care. Please visit Vancouver Island next time you're in Canada. Sean Kind. Dude, I'd love to visit Canada. Canada looks like a fucking amazing place, so I will... If I ever get the chance to do that, I'll put it up on social media that I'm there so I can meet all the cool guys there. But Canada is one place I do want to go and visit. Sean Harrison, you're in Los Angeles. Well, I do plan to be in Los Angeles next year, Sean, so I'll keep on top of things and I'll post when I'm there. Try the Foxeer Predator. Yes, I got one. Really like it. Hey Chad, thanks for taking the time to chat with us and put up with all these troll comments. Frame looks great. You can tell your heart is in it. Keep it up. Thanks, C-Man. Troll comments are actually really easy. All you do is ignore them because these comments don't show in the final thing. What can I say? Trolls are trolls. I'm getting ready for goggles for Christmas. Is there any specific frequencies which are inherently noisy? No, there's no inherent noisy frequencies. It's more to do with the RF environment you're flying in. All right, good night, Sean. Throttle control is one of my favorite videos you ever put out. I still show it to people today. Would love to see you fly in another car parking garage with newer gear. Tim Bell, we tried to go back to that same parking garage that I filmed that in, but Noelle and Kevin got kicked out by security, so obviously they don't like quad people in there anymore. I stopped flying in parking garages because it kind of got old and I got sick and tired of killing gear. But yeah, it'd be kind of cool to make another video there. Thanks, Chad. What is the rear standoff height if we don't want to use the antenna mounts? I've ordered 2 frames tonight, been waiting for this announcement. Okay, so if you don't want to use those, the kit actually comes out with 2 extra standoffs so that you can actually just not use that mount. So you can choose to use it or not use it. That way you get the choice once again. Customization, keeping the customer happy. So you don't have to worry about modifying everything. It comes in the kit and you don't have to use those antenna mounts at all. The height of them is 24.5 millimeters if you want to get specific. I just say 24 millimeters. What kind of action camera do you fly with? I fly with a GoPro 5 Session. Will your kit include a file to sand down the edges of the frame? Yes, standard flat and round diamond files are part of the kit. That said, you don't need to do it these days. There's no sharp corners on there. I don't bother filing them down anymore, but if you want to, you can. What's the best way to check RF signals if you don't have Fat Shark or a module that can scan? Simple, go out and fly, I would say. Unless you've got someone pumping out massive power, they're not going to knock you out of the sky. Just fly around the park. And if you're getting bad signal, then try another frequency and see if it's better. Trial and error is the way it works. Can you help me with my math? No, I'm terrible at math. Are the standoffs aluminium? Yes, you can. So front standoffs are just 30 millimeter. Back standoffs are 24.5, and you got these shorter ones as here. So ImpulseRC will sell all those ones as spare. And if you buy, there's some good quality standoffs which actually have threading all the way through it, so you can cut it off to the height that you want. But yeah, nothing too special about that. The 30mm standoffs, you should actually be able to cut down to 24.5 on most of them and still have enough thread in there anyway. It's only these bottom ones which are really more of the custom height, but yeah. But yeah, Impulse will be selling any of that sort of stuff. How much is the frame with shipping to NJ? Is that New Jersey, USA? Don't know. You would have to check on ImpulseRC's website that. With that said, next week all the frames will be shipping out to a lot of resellers as well, and there are quite a few new resellers in America, so you should be able to buy it over there, maybe a bit cheaper if you're prepared to wait, but for a couple of bucks extra you can buy it now direct through ImpulseRC. Any reason why you removed your random ramblings means you absolutely watch multiple times to pick your brain so you can... just the hate. I can put them back up there if you want. And just if you want, I'll put them back up there. I just couldn't be bothered dealing with people for a while. What type of standoffs are in the kit? They're like a hex. The usual ImpulseRC hex. Where is it? There you go. You can see them there. They're not the milled ones. Yeah, you can cut down some standoffs. Like the cheaper standoffs only have threading down to a certain height. So if you go too far, you lose the threading. So you've got to be careful of that. But some of them have threading all the way through, some of them don't. But even the ones that don't have threading all the way through, they'll have threading to a certain level. So you can cut both ends down a little bit. So you might be able to cut the 30 down to, say, 24 without being affected. I haven't really tried that on these standoffs. I don't know. Thanks, Chad. Hope all these companies start throwing money at you, at least pay you for all you do. Thanks, Brian King. A lot of these companies aren't throwing money at me because a lot of these companies don't have a lot of money, because there's not a lot of money in this industry. Okay, what was that? Whoop. Andrew, but the strap would be blocked by the central standoff, wouldn't it? Slipstream FPV. I'm not sure what you're talking about. The central standoff is here. So if you're talking about battery straps, it's never going to be in the way, and through here for the camera mount, it's not, so it shouldn't be a problem. Battery puffer, you didn't offend anyone. Don't worry about it. Cheers, Sean. This is not a true X. It's still a squished X, but it is halfway between a true X and the alien plan form. So it's not a true X, although it kind of looks like it is. Are you using KISS FC V2 on all your quads now? Yes. I much prefer the KISS FC V2 and the KISS 32 amp ESCs. It's a noticeable improvement, and that's what I would prefer to fly. If you had to pick one place to fly, water, forest, or concrete, probably a combination between water and forest. Concrete, I've done so much of it, it bores the crap out of me. I've done a lot of the other two as well, but I do like getting back to nature and doing the cinematography stuff. When was the last time I went gliding? At the FPV Worlds in Hawaii. I went up with Sean McKinder, and that was the last time I actually went flying. I've been to my gliding club a few months ago to catch up with friends, but I haven't gone flying. Staying away from that because I know that I'll be dragged back into it, and I kind of want to stay away because time and just not on my side at the moment to do that. NQIS Steve, no worries. Hey, enjoy your cider, man. Which Fat Sharks do you use? I use the Fat Shark Dominator HD V3s. Love them. How big are the new KISS 30 amp ESCs compared to new frames arms? Do they fit nice without sticking out too much? The 32 amps, they're a tiny little bit wider than these guys, but I don't damage ESCs, so I don't have a problem with it. Because what I do is I put down a little bit of foam tape, then I put heat shrink on the ESCs, then I tie them down with some tape. So if you hit something like that, what it does is it pushes the ESC back and then it hits the arm, so you don't damage the ESC. Mr. Fruity Cakes, holding back on the V2 and new KISS ESCs. A lot of people having dropouts. I'll wait a couple of months. I had some issues early on. I'm not having issues anymore. It was a firmware related thing, but I'm not sure if I'm running the public version of the firmware. Jade, what motor and speed control do you use with your frame? So I use a KISS V2 fly controller, a KISS 32 amp ESCs, and the Rotorite Hype Train motors. Do I conformal coat? Yes, I do conformal coat, and what I'm using is this is a new formulation. This is Dry Drone. New formulations. It's water based and dries extremely quickly. You don't have to wait for 24 hours for it to dry, and really good. So it does everything I need it to. Love this stuff. What is the difference between Betaflight and KISS? The difference between Betaflight and KISS is kind of like the difference between Apple and Windows. Betaflight being Windows and KISS being Apple. So Betaflight, you can do more things, but it's complicated as fuck, and it can be sort of very clunky. KISS, you're a bit more limited on what you can do, but it just fucking works. And in my opinion, I find KISS feels better in the sky than Betaflight. I don't like the way that Betaflight feels. And feel is very important to me. Chad, I'm planning on my second build. Is there really that much of a difference between frames of equal size? Well, it depends on what frames you're talking about. Bottom mount to top mount battery quads, yes, there is a difference. A racing frame compared to a freestyle frame, yes, there is a difference. Adding 200 grams to your battery, or adding a GoPro versus no Pro GoPro, yes, there is a difference. Then there are minor differences between the way that these things feel. An inexperienced pilot may not feel it, and you got to remember there's a difference. There's a big difference between feel and performance. Feel is opinion, and performance is a true difference in performance. So as far as performance is concerned, it's not a huge difference in performance. It's all in feel. It comes down to price, availability, being able to build it the way that you want, rigidity, and supporting those who are actually coming up with these initial designs. So mate, take your pick. Does the KISS V2 work with the steel PDB? Yes, it does. Kind of confused on what's going on with the FAA right now. You know any important topics you could hit on? I don't think the FAA knows. Just like CASA here in Australia doesn't know. It's a bunch of desk jockeys who have no actual understanding of what drones are and what they can do, how dangerous they are. All they do is they jump on the hype train of fear, which was started off by the media, and the stupid public listened to it, and then the politicians listened to it, and it goes round and round and round. It doesn't matter what we do as pilots, everyone's going to fear us. We could be the best people in the world. The same kind of shit is going to happen. So I don't know what's going on. It's just hell in a fucking basket. All Alright guys, I think I've been on for something like 3 odd hours, maybe less, I don't know. Or 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. I think I've talked enough about it. Probably talked too much, but I really hope you guys enjoyed what I had to say, got some education on it. I answered some of your questions, and I really hope you guys enjoy this frame. It's been a lot of work to get that out there and get shit just working, just hope you guys like it. I'm really interested to see what you guys think. Get your flight videos out there, your build videos, all that sort of stuff, and just interested to see what the future brings. So anyone who buys this, thank you for supporting me. This is sort of my first really big project, long-term project, and just know that you're supporting regular people, and we certainly thank you for that. And I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go on to social media now, which has probably gone absolutely crazy in my absence, and keep up with that sort of stuff. But you guys over in America, have a good night, and I'll chat to you guys soon. I'll speak to you later. Yes, it can become a bi-weekly thing if you guys really want it to be. I'll chat to you guys later, and thanks for hanging around. See ya.